and welcome to Orion Today. My name is Kim Urbanowski, and today with me in the studio is Amy Silvester. Amy is sort of a local legend here, in my opinion, and many opinion actually. But she's an artist, and so I'm just going to talk to her today about a little bit of her artwork, and then a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about her book series. So, Amy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Kim. It's a pleasure being here today.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it on this snowy night.
Yeah, I'm ready for spring.
I know, me too. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in your art. So you're a painter.
I am.
And these things that we're going to show soon.
Absolutely. So I'm more of an abstract realist, I guess, if you had to put me in a box. Not that I'm one that really likes boxes, but people like to know what kind of, and really, I have been painting my entire life. I started painting, I think I got my first oil set from my aunt, who was an artist, when I was like 10. I think that's right around when I can look back and find my first painting. It was an oil painting inspired by Bob, right? Isn't that his name? I don't know, with the hair, everybody likes watching
Bob
him.
Ross.
Yes, Bob
Happy
Ross.
Little Trees.
Yes, I got all of his reruns, and I loved watching them when when you're sick, when you're a kid,
right.
At the age I'm at, you didn't have Disney. So you had, you had game shows,
sure.
And you had Bob and
General Hospital and Bob.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that, but yes, exactly. We did not have Scooby-Doo all day. So,
right.
So he inspired me just to go ahead and do the little trees. And so I started with landscape, but it really isn't my thing.
Yeah.
I like to try to, just use color and paint what I feel. So over the years, I went to school and I minored in art. My degree is in communications, but and I was kind of like journalism communications there for a little bit. Which way do I go? But advertising was what led me out. So I did do some murals when I was, all through college, and painted all through that time in my life.
Wow.
And then I kind of took a hiatus after I entered the world of advertising and worked in talent and tried to be like an extra in a couple movies. I did do like Whip It and The Vanishing on 7th Street. There's like, if you just pause it just briefly, there's me for like a brief second. There's
Do you have an IMDb?
What does that mean?
That Internet Movie Database. I'll tell you about it later.
I totally need one because I'm in 2. So cool. But that was just too much. That's like an all-day kind of thing. But it was really cool, and I'm really glad that I did it. So I've always kind of dabbled my feet, like touched my toe down, if you will,
right.
like in all different kind of ways to see my art, photography. I kept doing things on the side while I raised my kids, but really taking care of my family and then working kind of took over, where I'd only paint every now and then. And it is an expensive hobby, lifestyle, if
Sure.
you will. So I didn't do that much for about 20 years. Instead, I taught swim, and
right.
I did, personal training, and I did that kind of stuff so that I could be at home with my kids. And I wrote at the same time. I know we're going to be discussing my books as well. So being creative has just kind of always been a part of me. I did gallery shows, in high school and in college, but then that kind of stopped. Once I became like a real adult.
Thank you.
I just, everything kind of paused. But, over the past like 3 years, I would say I've kind of hit a reboot again. I really focused on my writing for like about 10 years prior to this. And then, when taking photography for like my books, like The Promise, I did all the photography in that book. And I take that back. My daughter did shoot the back cover.
Okay.
Give props where it's
Yeah,
due,
you
Lulu.
better.
And then, my book Roxy, I have all the photos, but then I render them, with the computer and all of that with, graphic design. So I just kind of thought, okay, I really want to paint again. I got the painting bug. And I said, there's no reason to put it away at this point. Like, because that was the hardest part. I don't have like a studio space.
Yeah. It takes
and I still have a little
space to be
kid, so I need
creative,
to be
so.
home. Yeah, and you need to leave things out, and
Yeah.
you make a big mess, and it's a lot to like put it all away and keep it. So I finally just, I don't know, it just little by little, my husband was like, who cares? Leave it out.
Right.
You know, it's fine. And then so one little corner, it wasn't enough, and so then it became another corner, and here I am, you know, just trying to get my portfolio going again and get out there. I finally feel confident enough to show the works that I've been working on. I have different series. I have, you know, hundreds of paintings now. You know, it's just kind of like it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
I just poured myself into it,
Yeah.
and I gave myself permission, because
Good for
that's
you.
something I think I was lacking. You know, growing up, your parents have the best intentions for you. You know,
Sure.
I have loving parents, but sometimes the pressure to be a certain way or live a certain life, although very good intentions and good direction, it kind of stifled what was really in me. You know, education's really important, and I'm grateful that I have a degree. However, I really wish I had gone to CCS rather.
Sure.
It's not called that anymore, but that's where I wanted to go, and I think
Yeah.
it would have served me really well, because I'm learning so much now later in life, kind of like I'm a dinosaur, you know, like having
Well-
to pick up and like, oh,
You know, and I will say I can understand what you're saying, because my parents were the same way, and it was the same way for me. And I think maybe that might be a generational thing too.
Oh,
but you
I'm
know,
sure.
what's really nice about being a Gen X is getting to the age of something and being able to just give yourself permission to do something like that.
Right.
So
and having like the support, like my kids, I think they knew mom could paint, but until I started painting daily and them seeing what I was painting, it was like, oh, you're good. And it took me hearing that over and over and over again, where I now feel comfortable saying, I'm good. I'm not.
you are good.
I'm
you
not,
are good.
You know, I'm not the queen's bee or anything, but I'm me, and I'm
No.
good for me. And my goal is to always better me,
Sure.
not compete with other people, because that's kind of how I've always gone through life. And what I try to share with others and encourage people in my books is that you walk your walk. You know, Emerson said, "Go where there is no path." I got my shovel. You know what I'm saying? I'm just.
love
Let's
it.
get there. I don't know. And I've been wrong so many times. I've failed more times than I care to acknowledge, but I'm learning from that failure. So I'm hoping that, you know, my artwork shows that, and it's a side of me that I don't let a lot of people see, that I haven't let a lot of people see. I mean, I'm 50, and it took me a long time to let people in, because I was always afraid I wasn't going to be good enough. And I thought I had to fit into a box. I thought I had to wear the suit. I had to be a certain way. And that's not so. I don't think it's so. And I'm finally, you know, this is it. And it's okay if you don't like it, you know.
No,
it's
well,
okay.
I will tell you, you know, I've seen it. I've
Yes.
seen the art. Well, I've seen pictures of it, and I need to see it in person. But what I've seen, I have told you the things that I have. You know, art is, you know,
Subjective,
well, it
it's
is. It's what you
personal,
made, but it's also how people respond to it. And so I think we should start looking at some of these pieces, and you can
Sure.
tell us a little bit about,
Okay.
you know, what they're about. Oh, this is so beautiful.
This is a tiger. This is a good one to start with. It's what I call my full circle piece. So I have a lot of acrylic pour pieces. This is on cedar. I don't recall the dimensions, but it's quite large. Wow. And it's on reclaimed cedar from the old lumber yard, actually, in Lake
Really?
Orion. Yes.
Oh, cool.
I did do some volunteering there, and I was able to get some wood out of the one barn.
Oh, I love that.
With permission. I wasn't taken,
Oh,
I
of
promise.
course.
But we donated our time and everything, and I'd love to do more pieces and stuff. So, but this piece, when I was a kid, my dad still calls me Tiger. And so the irony of this piece is I was always encouraged by my father to be something that I think he saw as successful. That's not knocking my father. I love him very much, and like I said, it all comes from good. Your parents always want better from you, for you. You know, I mean, I know, you know, coming from Greece, his family, even though he's first generation here, it's that they were poor, and you don't want to struggle, and education, and you want high-paying job, and you want. So, and that's all great, but he'd always say, well, there's no money in art, you'll be a starving artist. And it's like, but you know what? You're better off going the way you need to go, and the money will come.
Yeah.
Because I remember him telling me that too when I would coach and I teach, when I'd work with the kids. I made great money because I loved it, and people knew I loved doing it, and I was good with the kids, so I had tons of clients because that's what life is like. If you're great at it and you excel, you're having fun, people are attracted to that energy. So
very true.
So the tiger is a full circle piece where it's one of probably 50 animals I've done now, where it just kind of happened. It seemed like the right thing. That piece has, I used plaster. I had to pour plaster down in order to paint on the surface of the wood to do my pour. And then on top of that, that's when I do the painting. So this is about 80 hours of work.
Wow. Stunning.
In this one, a lot of brush stroke. And so it is a masculine energy. I know I'm female, but it's kind of like whenever he'd call me tiger, this is what I would see, and this is what I wanted to be. And I do have that fight in me, like I am very much. So this is very personal, this piece actually.
It's beautiful.
So that's the main story behind that one, and just evolving from pouring and turning things into something. This is peace. This is my interpretation of like Christ, if you will, finding that inner peace. So all my pieces, I kind of paint what I feel. I'm an artist that I don't necessarily know what I'm painting until I'm painting it, if that makes any sense.
Right.
And sometimes it turns out to be something completely different.
Yeah.
Like, not to regress, but with the tiger, I could kind of see with the pour the eyes where I wanted them, and it just spoke to me, like I can see it. Because when I pour, it has to dry, and then I'll put it up, and a lot of times, like, I'll turn the piece so to see when it speaks to me.
Sure, because it might not be right.
Right on.
That might
right
not
on.
be the
and
right side up.
sometimes what I think I'm seeing when I'm doing it, once it's dry, it's different. But piece is a charcoal drawing on canvas with the pour on purpose, with me painting on it. That's the one you just saw, and so it's Yep, it's
You know, can I just for a hot second, because I think you and I talked about this one, because when I saw a picture of it, my parents went to Spain and they have a picture, and it's by a Spanish artist. I don't remember the name of it, but when he was doing his painting, he wasn't liking how that side of and it was a painting of Jesus. He didn't like how that side went, and so he ended up kind of like just kind
smearing
of
it.
Yeah, but my parents have that in a version that has some gold leaf on it and
It's
stuff.
funny because this has gold too, but I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
I'll have
I'd love
to take
look
a
it
picture
up.
and show you, because I immediately, when I saw that, I immediately thought it. But like, that's the one thing, like in my parents' house, that
Right,
I like that's coming to me, kind of thing.
Right.
But that's it. It's so. I liked it immediately because it was similar. It's not the same at all,
Well, no,
obviously,
that's
because
the
yours
thing.
is.
I think everything is kind of reinvented. I mean, I look at things
no,
all
I
the
don't-
time to
yours is
gain
totally-
inspiration. So, but I do use on a lot of my paintings, I will use iridescent paints, and Peace is part of a 3-piece series. There's 3 faces in that series, and each significant to emotion and purposefulness, being mindful. So for me, I just kind of wanted it to be the struggle, but for me, color is really important. So all my work has these bold. I mean, I do very extreme. I do have black and white work, but I'm very bold in my color choice. I love color. I I embrace it, and I think that you have to invoke emotion with it. So orange and yellow, like they're colors that joy, but also energy. And I feel like the part of his face that's hidden, that's that hidden energy, you know, that we all have, you know. So for me, it's more than just sketching something out. I try to. So it's a story too.
It's a charcoal drawing, but then you used
Charcoal.
paint on top.
Yeah, so
okay.
I used charcoal to draw the face, and then I sealed the canvas, and then I poured and painted around the areas that I wanted it to be.
What's the process?
It is a process. It takes time. I know a lot of people when you go to art shows and you know, it's really hard to price your work. Like that's what I'm struggling with right now. I have people that, you know, are asking questions, and it's like, I've watched so many YouTube videos on, oh, how do you come up with a number? And it's so subjective, because if you really enjoy the piece and you connect with it, then I want you to have it.
Yeah.
But I also have to be compensated too, right?
Sure.
Because the materials, the time, and I'm trying to, you know,
Energy that you put into.
it's just a whole experience. It's kind of like, that's what you're purchasing. You're purchasing a piece of me.
Yeah.
And some of my works that I have, they're not for sale, but you know, prints are, because I just,
you can't get rid of
I
that.
can't
You
part.
can't
Well,
part with that.
my kids, I want this one, I want this one,
Sure.
and my family is always going to come first. That's my biggest thing, is that, I mean, that's my message behind everything I've ever done, is like, family is absolutely everything. So when my daughter says, you know, because
You're like, oh, she's trying not to tell me that she wants that one, but she wants that one.
She said you can't sell it. And it was funny because I had someone really interested in like Montana. I think you have an example of Montana as well. And I outpriced it basically because
Well, let's go on. Is that the
Montana. So, and my daughter was like, you can't. And I'm like, well, okay, you guys can't keep all of them. I mean, because my house is like a gallery
right? Right? You're gonna have to
But-
buy a museum for Mom.
Well, it's a common problem that artists have. I mean,
Sure.
your space is just your space. There's just canvas everywhere. I
So
mean, yeah.
What about Montana?
So
I
Montana
love this
was
one.
like a turn of tides for me. We went to Montana. This is somewhere where my husband and I always said, oh, when we retire, we're going to move to Montana.
Sure.
He was a smart man, and we went to Montana in the winter.
Oh my gosh.
Now, let me tell you, Big
He's a
Sky's
funny guy.
beautiful. He is a funny guy. There's no way we're going to live in Montana. I like the sun way too much. So that's not going to happen, because in Montana, you only get the sun for a little bit because the mountains, everything's covered.
Right.
It's beautiful, very inspirational, but not necessarily for me personally. I do enjoy Michigan. So just the mountains. So when I created this piece, this pour actually had some purpose behind it when I started, with trying to get a mountainscape. And it has, like, and some of my paintings have hidden images. I think I've spoken to you about this before.
Oh, yeah.
And so my husband really likes this piece because he can see the ape in the nose. And so, but Montana's kind
see
of
it too.
like me experiencing the awe of the mountains and just the buffalo, just and for me, connecting to this piece and what the trip to Montana meant, and what bison, these animals survive the winter. Their heads, they're the only animal that walk into the snow to push away to eat. So the connection to this painting is just tenacity in life.
Okay.
So when I started painting again, this is one of those paintings, which was one of, I would say, the first 15 of me really finding my voice, I guess, of how I came to, because I've always done paintings on paintings. That's kind of been my style, even in college. But I think I've come up with like a formula, you know, a style where I could say this is, this is Amy. Like,
Well, and every artist that's worth their salt, honestly, will have a style, and you should be able to look at it and say, earlier pieces, you look at, Picasso stuff, it's some of that's weird and you don't know it, you can't connect it. But when you find your voice, then it definitely, let's see the next one, because I think you can see.
Is this Mother Earth? Nope.
No.
This is, okay,
Yeah.
Scream.
Scream.
Yep. It's, this one is, all my work is personal, right?
Sure.
I mean, so it's about me. And I always say it's like my therapy. When I teach classes, I've taught a few classes out through our Lake Orion enrichment, which was wonderful. And I'd love to do more. This was kind of like cathartic for me. Just a release of like rage. That's what this painting is to me. It's letting go of the anger. Like all the color is centered like right here. It's there. Like almost like it's like, so, and you got the cool blues in the back. And of course, this animal, it's kind of, that's how their face is, right? It's very, so, and the fangs just ready to like, you're done. Yeah. You're just so done. So this was a good painting for me to kind of release. I mean, everybody is going through something in life. That's the one thing that I think we as people don't always, we say, yeah, we know, but in the heat of things, we become so self-centered that cut me off, that SOB or whatever. And it's like, you're a person. That person has problems just like you have problems. Your overreaction is a problem too. So we all need to kind of like, I think it's just one of those things. So like art for me is a very good way, like exercise, just to therapy.
Release.
I don't know. Release.
Scream it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Do we have one more on deck there? There. Okay, this one I love.
This is
so
Mother
much.
Earth. Yeah, this is Mother Earth. This is more of grounding, just kind of feeling life and being comfortable and realizing that everything comes together and we all come from like this one spot, like this, I don't know if you could tell, where the waterfall is and the tree and the mountainscape of her face, and just, so I tried to incorporate to make her a living being, and how that energy, everything has the energy. And I really feel like if we can tap into it, getting back to that, instead of being reactive all the time. And I have to work on it too. I mean, I am not perfect. I am perfectly flawed.
We all are.
Absolutely. With some salt and pepper thrown in there of like frazzled at times. And, so it's just, she's just a way to represent, beauty, I think. And that's another one my daughter won't let me get rid of. She's like, I will pay you for it one day. I'll buy them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Stop.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for sharing the beautiful pieces of art. I know you have tons more of you on your website, which is?
AmySilvesterArtist.com.
And Sylvester with an I.
Yes, I. No Y.
Because I made that mistake when I first met you. I think you might still be in my phone with a Y, but that's just going to stay that way.
That's
because it's, So we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about these books right here that are sitting on the table, which is How I Met You. So we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Have you ever thought of producing your own podcast? ONTV offers the facilities, equipment, and training to help you get your own podcast off the ground. Learn how to record your show and get it out to the world. Cost is $25 per person, which gives you access to ONTV's podcast room and equipment. For more information, give ONTV a call at 248-393-1060 or visit OrionONTV.org today.
Hi, welcome back. We're still here with Amy Silvester. Just had a view of all your beautiful artwork, but now we're going to move on to your books.
My books.
Your books.
My books. So it all started with Toby. Toby the Tender Turtle, which turned into the Tender Turtle series.
I know. So cute.
That's really where, you know, my art kind of kicked off. I have illustrated all the books in the Toby series. There's many books. However, I'm going to, this year, the goal for the end of the year for Christmas time is to also add a Christmas story to Toby and to put them all in a hard copy. So the whole series will be one large book. That's kind of what I'm shooting for.
I love that.
Yeah, I think it's time. I really would love to do some hardcover. It's my goal was to make my books affordable for people, but bookstores and the feedback I've been getting now is, well, it'd be nice to have a hardcover, you know, because for some of the books you want to keep, and that makes sense, but the cost is so much more. But if people are asking for it, I can do it. So that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when we spoke, Roxy is the book I was talking about, where I can open it. I don't know if I'm... where I take all the photo images. Say I do the graphic design, obviously, but let me see. Where is she? So I take photographs, if you can see this. I take photographs, and then I go into the computer and I do fancy stuff to make them look like works of art.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is one of my favorite books, and the storyline, of course. I love children. I love encouraging kids. And this book specifically is about getting unplugged, spending more time with family, with the family dog. Roxy is like, you need to spend more Roxy time, you know?
Right.
So it's encouraging kids to get outside, get off, you know, social media because it's for little kids, but just to get off of all the electronics and be kids. Go get dirty, right? Go get dirty.
Oh, I know.
We
I was
all
just
need
talking
to
to
get
my
dirty.
kids about that this weekend, about being dirty and stuff, because my kids were constantly very, very blonde, but they always had like a streak of like the dirt right down the middle of the, and I was always like, okay, scrubbing that off. But it was because of something like dirty hands or something, and I said, well, that's why you're never sick, because you always had your hands in the dirt and your hands in your mouth.
There's something, I mean, my kids, I've always gardened with my kids. In the summer, we're always doing something, pulling weeds. There's always weeds to pull because I let everything grow. But there's just something about digging up worms. You're going to go fishing, go get some worms, you know, or just, we can buy some too, but like, go and do it. You need that dirt. It just feels so good. It connects us to, again, where I believe we all come from, like, you know, this Mother Earth. The Promise is a book that I wrote for adolescents. It's about what I believe to be God's promise to us, and that is that you're a gift, I'm a gift, everybody's a gift. We're all people. You know, when I was growing up, In Vogue was like a really big music group. And it just, like, words. I love words. I mean, obviously, being a writer, being an artist, like, words are very important to me. And I feel like we need to tell young people that it's okay to be who you are. There's room for everybody at the table. We might not like each other at the table, but we have to respect each other on a human level, and that you get to be you, I get to be me, and we're all part of this plan. So in this book, I did all the photography, and they're from my garden. All these flowers are from my home, and
beautiful.
I mean, it's just about find the color in life. Look for the people who inspire you, you know, and gravitate to those who support you without wanting anything in return. Be a soldier for you, no one else. Be your own hero. Be a better you every year that you are blessed to be here on earth. Color makes things intriguing and catches the eye. Remember that not all that is shimmering is gold, though. Find the color and be colorful. So I just, that's kind of a taste of like, just, I want people to color outside the lines. I think now in society we've shifted to everything needs a label. Everything needs a name. Everything needs a title. And I don't know if that's helping or harming. You know, I don't know that I like being, well, you're this or you're that. Like with my artwork, like, well, abstract realist. But I also try to do other, it's like, why can't we just, you know? But I get it. It's important. Rome wasn't built in a day. I feel like we just all need to take a breath.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right?
I do.
And, Dream Find Your Keffy I wrote, and I think I have that in the shot where he wants it.
Yep.
This is kind of what kicked off my whole, me finding my voice as an artist, really.
I remember when this came
to
the forefront.
Yeah, and this is really like a book that I think is great for like high schoolers, even middle schoolers. My son gets it, and he's in 6th grade. And even people like myself, you get married again, or you're changing positions in life, you're starting over. I've had people read it. Right? Yeah, no, but seriously, like dream big. You are a blank canvas. Paint your painting.
Right.
In some of my paintings I have, I've made apparel for, and I have a sea turtle that I've done, and it's ride the wave of your life.
Let me tell you something. I still have that spoon that has the sea turtle on it that you made and I bought from you. You remember that?
Right on.
Yeah. And honestly, because I know this is all about your books, but you just made me think about this. Because I lived in Hawaii twice, and so
did my husband.
sea turtles
That
are
Navy,
a
right?
big that Navy thing. Sea turtles are a big deal to me, and I don't have it on right now, but like the only piece of jewelry that I wear really is a sea turtle, and in the Hawaiian language it's called a honu, and it means patience, perseverance, and persistence, and so
Turtles are awesome.
That's kind of. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you brought that up, and
yeah,
that's why I wear it, and that's sort of like
you're connected to it,
right?
Yeah. And it's a good reminder of like, that's why I say like, my kids ask like, some people say I like Mr. T in me or something. I remember a lady saying like all my jewelry, and I'm like, this isn't even all of it. I'm like, I'm artist
you are
my
the
Mr.
A-team.
T. Yeah, I am the whole A-team, man. I never watched the show, but I love Mr. T because he just had that go-get-'em attitude.
Yeah, he did.
But no, I mean, I think there's so much effort. People try to just have this life, I know in my 20s, all my friends getting married, and it seemed like the next thing to do. And so your friends have a boat, and you get a boat, and you get a new car, and you get a new car, and I've achieved this, and now this, and
Chasing it.
and to what end?
Yeah, I don't know.
And who are you trying to impress? And who are you happy with? And are you able to sleep when your head hits the pillow at night? Or are you up every night at 3 a.m.? And for me, that was my calling to change my life. Is the talks I would have with God at 3:30 in the morning. It was happening all the time, and it was like, okay. And once I lended myself to hearing, and walking my path, I'd say it, but I wasn't really doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something good too, is that sometimes you gotta like say it a lot before you do it. I mean,
be willing to allow yourself forgiveness for failure. Read that again.
Oh, heck yeah, man. And read it again and again, because, and I allude to like climbing the same mountain like 5 times.
Sure.
And for me, that's been my sobriety journey. Like I knew that I needed to make changes in life, and I'd make them. I was an athlete for a long time, and not a professional athlete because I didn't play professional sports, but I made my living as an athlete.
Yep.
And, you have standards, and you have such high standards, and it's like sometimes you have got to remember what's it all for. And so I would cut things out, and I would be very successful, but then slowly I'd allow that back in, and I'd go a little bit too far to a way I didn't want to go. And so for me, it's just my journey is trying to figure out how to be the best Amy, and how does that work, and what does that look like? And that is doing things that bring me joy. And that's what Keffy means in Greek. It's joy.
Okay.
And so that's why I say find your Keffy. It's your purpose, you know. And I Love You to Heaven and Back and Papu are kind of like, they're going to be a book together, I think, when I do a hardcover, because Papu is about adoption. It's a story. My family's my inspiration.
Sure.
And so this book is about Riley, and how he's been adopted by this loving Audrey and Papu, and their journeys together and their life together, and how wonderful it is to, have that family. And then I Love You to Heaven and Back is not about heaven. It is about a parent's love, and it's a love letter to all my kids, my stepsons, my 2 beautiful stepsons, and my 3 babies. They're not really babies anymore.
No.
4 adults
Mine
and
neither.
1 mini man. But it's about the endless love that we have as parents, how it's never ceasing. It's always growing. It's beyond unconditional. And in my books, I do use big words, right? Because I believe we should not talk down to children. I believe that we should encourage them, lift them up, and give them the opportunity to amaze themselves. And the way you do that is through reading and through writing. I think it's the best way to help our kids, to help our young people, is to give them a book. So I do a lot of donating my books, because I think it's important for kids to read and to have tons of things to read. So I have a couple others that I'm working on right now.
Good.
It's hard. Between the painting and the writing, you have to be in a creative space, headspace to move forward, and so.
And you have to be able to do it uninterrupted sometimes too.
Yes.
Which is tough to do when you've got things going on around you.
Yeah.
And
but if it's worth it and it's what you want in life, you have to make time for it. And
good for you.
so it's just carving that time out. It's just, it's like exercise. You got to want to do it, and then it's not hard.
Right.
Nothing's difficult. I tell my kids all the time, you can do whatever you want, but you have to put the work in to achieve it. And it might not be on your timeline that you achieve it. And so
True.
I'm trying to walk my talk.
Well, so, one thing that I think the reason why I wanted to be friends with you when I met you and talked, and because we've had some pretty good talks over the years.
Yes, we have.
Like, your path is not linear, and neither is mine, and I really appreciate the walk that you've walked.
Oh,
and
thank you.
and I think maybe you've inspired me a little bit here today. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming. And again, where can we find, where can people see your art? What's the website again?
AmySilvester.com. I still have Love and Light Productions.
Okay.
Absolutely check me out. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
This was
I appreciate
inspiring, and I really appreciate you saying yes. So thank you very much for coming out. I hope that you enjoyed getting to meet Amy Silvester, local artist, local author, local awesome person. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great day.